Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report. Wildcat practice. Salamanders versus two 1,000-point Goblin armies. The scenario was control. My friend Carl and I are practicing for our team event at the Wildcat GT. So the A team, which is the Atchman team, has two hordes of sharpsticks, one with a staying stone and healing brew, two regiments of rabble, one goblin blaster, a big rocks thrower, a sharpstick thrower, a mop-up launcher, a wizard with the boomstick, and Magua, a.k.a. Skarsnik. The Charlie team, or the C team, a.k.a. Team Carl, had two hordes of sharpsticks, two regiments of rabble, a war trombone, a goblin blaster, a big rocks thrower, a sharpstick thrower, a mop-up launcher, a wizard with the boomstick, lightning, and hex, and finally a goblin king with the pennant. So it is on to the goblin deployment. Down here on this end of the table, Carl put his sharpstick thrower. Right next to it is his wizard with the boomstick. Behind it is his wildcat. The formation next to them is a horde of sharpsticks. Then the big rocks thrower. Behind the sharpsticks is his goblin blaster. Then a regiment of rabble. Finally, the next unit in the foreground is another unit of sharpsticks, and behind them is the goblin king with Jareth's pendant. In the very middle was another big rocks thrower. Also behind the unit of sharpsticks was his war trombone. Slightly behind them, kind of in reserve, was a unit of rabble, and then one of the two mop-up launchers that we have on our side. Finally, then I just have a checkerboard of sharpsticks, rabble, sharpsticks, then rabble on the edge of the table here, on my end of the table. Behind them is Magua, and my mop-up launcher. On the very end, I did have my sharpstick thrower because he placed his Lakelodon on that end of the table, and I needed something to snipe at. And problem is, this army is so big that sometimes it's hard to get some nice clear lanes of fire. But Carl actually had a fairly good lane of fire on his side of the table, and my side was a lot more constrained by that large woods that's there. John has a very fearsome salamander army. Down on this end was his wildcat flanking a unit of rhinosaur cav, and then a clan lord on fire drake. Then a unit of ancients. In the woods were two hordes of tyrants, or behind the woods was two hordes of tyrants. A troop of ancients and a troop of Geckotage warriors. Over on the very end of the line was yet another unit of Ceremonial Guard. Flanking them was another troop of Gecko warriors, as I call them, and then Lakelodon. His other Lakelodon is right on the edge of the woods. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of a yellow color. So he kind of had them on both ends of his line there. The goblins won the first turn, and they just moved forward. We were trying to kind of race to that woods before the salamander primes got there to at least make it a little bit harder for them to kill us. The Carl's shooting did grievous damage. I mean, just put the beat down on the rhinosaur cavalry. Did not kill them, but it put the hurt on them. I think they took like 10 wounds. It was rough. Over here, I think I did one wound to the Lakelodon, and that was about the best shot. My catapult, I don't think it did eventually do a hit during the game, but shooting is really not my best thing. The two squigs here represent the mop-up launcher has already shot a couple of times since there's one on each side. We kind of crisscrossed, and we were able to put mop-ups on two of our units. My side of the table, I just moved forward and kind of formed a checkerboard. I have Magua stuck right in the middle of the line because I needed him to come forward and shoot some lightning bolts at people. Over on the right that you can't see, there is the sharpstick thrower, and I think I did one or two wounds to his Lakelodon, but I did not waver it or break it. So John moved forward as fast as he could. Over here on his left flank, my right, his Lakelodon and his Gecko warriors moved forward to support the unit of his Salamander primes. So right now he's got all of his Salamander primes in perfect position across the table. There really wasn't much I could do. I didn't mind them going ahead and charging us. I was just going to feed them chaff while we shot them up as much as we could. Over on the right side of John's line, the Wildcat moved up and took cover behind the fence or that shrub, whatever it is. The Rhino Cavalry and the Fire Lord went ahead and moved forward right to the middle of the lines, and pretty sure he was going to try to pound that flank, and we weren't too bad a shape over there, but that's a lot of power. I mean, that's several hundred points coming in on very little number of points. So we're just going to have to see how this whole dynamic works out on this end. So where's the Salamander flank? Well, Carl's shooting absolutely went off this turn, and we killed the Rhino Cavalry. And then he got a lucky shot into the Fire Lord, or Lord on Fire Drake, with between the Big Rock Slobber and the War Trombone, and needed like an 11 or 12 to kill it. Then he rolled a 11. And then he said, "Oh, we got to re-roll." We thought we were cheering, high five, we had it. And then Carl rolls a 12 and kills him. I was like, "Are you crazy?" It's just 2 games in a row now that I've played where something silly like that's happened, unexpected, very early in a game. So the Salamander right flank is decidedly very weak at this point, since there's really nothing left of it except the Wildcat. On my end of the table, I just moved up 2 of the Goblin rabble units to chaff him up. The big horde of sharp sticks, along with the Magua and a wizard, moved up to hopefully set a trap for Carl's Salamander primes that are about to go into, they're not primes, I'm sorry, they're Ceremonial Guard. They're about to enter the woods. And so that's what I was hoping would happen, but we'll have to see what actually does happen, because something totally different happened as usual, and you never can count on them. But anyway, we moved up forward. I had nothing to shoot at, I don't think, with my sharp stick thrower. I think I moved him this turn, and I did try to shoot at his Lacheladon again, but man, this whole game, those 2 stupid things had a charmed life. It took like 4 or 5 shots each to kill them. It was crazy. It was just between bad luck on the morale checks and just probably low wounds when we did actually hit them. Since I had moved that unit of Goblin rabble up his chaff, he went ahead and charged them with his unit of Ceremonial Guard. He also charged them in the flank with those with that Lacheladon, and so he was trying to take them out. So, I mean, my little unit of Goblin spears down there had no chance. But on the other hand, if you can see that dice kind of floating in the air, that's all the shooting damage he had taken from me during the turn. And so they were a little bit weakened to the point where I thought I was able to maybe be able to take them out, because there's no way I could take out a fresh unit of those things. So in the middle here, his Ancients went ahead and flank charged my unit of rabble there, and then his Gecko Warriors charged in the front. Worse, both units of Tyrants have now moved up to dominate the middle of the table. On Carl's end of the world, the Goblin Sharpsticks were basically in a fight with the last remaining flank unit on the Salamander line, the Wildcat. In the middle, the Ceremonial Guard had charged the Sharpsticks in the woods, and they were hindered, so that was going to give them a little bit of a reprieve from that attack. The thing he did here was, and I look now, I think I probably could have pivoted through them and made the charge. I was going to charge the Ceremonial Guard in the flank on the next turn, but I thought maybe that the Ancients in front of me would have blocked it. And in reality, I think I could have went ahead and just pivoted through them and then made the charge anyway. So, kind of my bad, but in the end, I ended up charging the Ancients in the flank anyway, which was, I needed to get rid of them because that was like the only inspiring on the middle of the table here. Yeah, you could see the 2 hordes of Tyrants moving up to absolutely probably obliterate everything in the middle of the table. So we better have a plan quick, and because those guys are like instant death whenever they touch. So we're having to scramble here in the middle. We were doing okay, I think, on Carl's flank, but I was about to catch absolute bad things coming at me. Fortunate for me, both units of Goblin Rabble held, even though the one here on the left-hand side was wavered. And the reason why is because they had been charging out of the woods there, and they were hindered, except for the Gecko Warriors, which aren't very effective fighters anyway. So the Ancients did a couple of wounds, but it wasn't that many. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Let's put it that way. In our turn, I went ahead and charged my Goblin Blaster and the unit of Sharp Sticks into the big unit of Ceremonial Guard. Down here on the left, I charged the Malqua and the unit of Sharp Sticks into the flank of the Ancients, but did not kill them, which that was bad. So anyway, I was kind of in trouble right there. But the Ceremonial Guard had taken a lot of shooting damage, and I was hoping between the mop-up and the damage potential from the Spearmen, then I might be able to kill that unit. On the far end, Carl just backed up and started dumping shooting. There was no way that our little Goblin troops were going to be able to fight those Ceremonial Guard on any kind of even basis. So we were hoping to do a lot of damage to them and then maybe have a chance at them a little bit later. His unit of Rabble has moved forward now into the gap so that he could potentially get a flank charge, and the other unit of Rabble has moved forward the same way. So we started getting to the point in the game where you start thinking about the scenario, and normally I think about it from day one, but we were kind of doing some learning and teaching early in the game. Carl and I are working on our army together and practicing our teamwork. So I did pay for not killing the Ancients, and so here comes the first unit of Tyrants into my Sharp Sticks horde, and then the Lakelodon, I think, actually charged my magic user, even though it looks like he's in this other battle. I'm pretty sure he is actually against the magic user there. So this was going to be a critical turn in the game here with everything that's going on. Carl kept backing away from the Wildcat, but the Wildcat was rolling exceptional. I think he was doing an average of 4 to 5 wounds a turn, despite being hindered part of the time from the rough terrain that's there. So that wasn't good. And you can see now that Carl has snuck his Wildcat around behind the, started sneaking it around behind the Salamander, the Ceremonial Guard. Now, whether we would use that to attack, or in this case, we're trying to start thinking about the scenario. Well, John does not have anything in that corner over there, so he's just about as good just sitting over there being a point grabber as he is to come in here and try to beat on a very tough unit like those Ceremonial Guard. Like I said, the Wildcat had been beating the crap out of that unit of Sharp Sticks and finally just kills them, and now he is free to rampage into the rear of our army. And so we have to start thinking about that. As you notice, Carl has turned the Goblin King and the War Trombone, the Wizard, and the Sharp Stick Thrower. We need to try to kill that sucker. So everything is turning to engage him. So the Tyrants had taken some damage on the way in to the fight. And one thing about Tyrants is they have armor 4, so they're actually very woundable. And with 30 swings from the unit of Goblin Sharp Sticks, it killed the Tyrants. I rolled well, he had to roll twice, and regardless, we were able to take them out. The Ancients keep holding me up. I was doing very low damage to them. They are armor 6, but hitting it with 7 swings for 3s and 4s, I would have thought I would do a couple of wounds a turn. But they would last for, I think, even a complete other turn before I was able to take them out. So between the damage that I had done with the shooting on the way in and the Goblin Blaster, I totally probably forgot to mention that. The Goblin Blaster had done 5 wounds to the Ceremonial Guard. And then I think shooting had them up past 12, and then I did a few more points of damage in the fight. Even though I'd taken 12 points of damage, which wasn't horrible. When you're goblins, 12 points is a lot on a horde, unlike some of the other races. So anyway, I did get lucky and kill that unit of Ceremonial Guard. The sharp stick thrower finally did its job and killed the stupid Lecheladon, which had been surviving the whole game at this point. So fast forward a little bit, the Lecheladon goes into the unit of Rabble, even though he had been shot and wounded the entire game, still managed not to kill him. The Tyrants did come in and destroy the unit of sharp sticks that had destroyed their brothers. Finally, the unit of sharp sticks in front of the Ceremonial Guard did succumb to damage from them. The Wildcat was killed in a flurry of shooting on this next turn. So he has broken through our right front flank or right middle flank, and was going to have a darn good chance of getting the 2 points for this scenario from the middle part of the board. Yes, the Goblin middle has totally evaporated now, and the unit of Tyrants is dominating that portion of the table. The Ceremonial Guard charges the unit of Rabble in the flank that was engaged with the Lecheladon, and of course destroyed them with like a bajillion attacks, 60-something attacks, I think. Over on the right-hand side, he had charged his Gecko Warriors into my Rabble because they had a lot of wounds on them, and didn't do any damage, and I turned and killed them. And now I had to turn my unit back the other way, and here comes another unit of geckos in. Like I said, I am teeter-tottering. These are goblins. These aren't like real troops. So when you're at 12 wounds, it doesn't take much to take you out. So the Tyrants barely killed the big rock slobber with 90 swing. Oh, my God. And then the unit of Ceremonial Guard had killed the hapless unit of Rabble that was there. But as you can see in the background, the little unit of Rabble that has secured this left corner of the table, and the Wildcat has also taken the middle portion of the table as well by this turn. So the brave geckos slam into the unit of sharpsticks yet again, and fortunately for me, they were not killed. They were wavered. It was a close thing, but they were not killed, and so I was able to hold that section of the table. So we have one in our corner down here, two for the Wildcat, and then one for this particular section of table over here. So we have four. He definitely has the middle of the table with his Tyrants and Ceremonial Guard. So it is a 4-2 Goblin victory. I think this was an excellent learning battle for Carl and I in our quest to win the team championship. People kind of gripe about Goblins and the fact that they do have a lot more shooting and stuff, but let me tell you, they can't fight their way out of a wet paper sack, at least the regular Rabble and the Sharpsticks. You have to be able to weaken the other side with shooting and stuff and magic so that you can actually have a slight chance of defeating a unit. You have to get them up to some points. You will not grind with anybody else. They will eventually just like the Wildcat, kill the whole horde by itself. Now, it took it 3 turns, which was good for us, but it took him 3 turns to get through the horde. But a good unit like those Rhino Riders or one of those other things would have blown through them like they weren't even there. So I don't think that our Goblin list is oppressive in the least. I mean, I've seen very much worse. I mean, most people just max out on bang-its and wing-its and have evil things like that in their list. And we have a decent amount of infantry. We have 4 hordes of infantry and 4 regiments of infantry, and then we have just a smattering of shooting that supports each one of those. I have to say that I thought that one of the best units that we had this game was the silly war trombone. I mean, it was able to move just behind our lines and just get those nice angles when you're in a fight. So like if we were in a fight, Carl would back up, then the war trombone to step in and hose them, because it's going to do way more damage than goblins swinging at somebody. One thing that we don't have in the army is any Bane Chant, and we may have to figure that one out because we just could not hurt the Armor 5 guys. And I mean, they probably wouldn't anyway, but it was a real struggle for us. And the only way we could really deal with them was extreme amount of shooting concentrated into them. And 2 of the units, we didn't even touch. That we just could not. I mean, the Tyrants and the Ceremonial Guard that came through the middle. I mean, they just ate units alive, which is what they're supposed to do, honestly. So I really thought that our list played fairly well. We may tweak it some more. Like I said, I almost think I want Bane Chant, but I don't know what to give up to get it. And it may be giving something up would be a worse idea than just sucking it up and hoping that your shooting equals things out. So John's army is fearsome. That is a great Salamander army. I really like it. It's got a lot of decent armor. It's got a smattering of shooting with the Lakelodons. The Lord on Firebreak, even though he didn't get much into the action this game because of a lucky hit, he could have eat us alive if he would have got to the back of the table. So I really like his army. I like the Ceremonial Guard. I like the Ancients in there. He's got a couple little units of Gecko Warriors for chaff. 2 hordes of Tyrants. My gosh, that's like the best infantry in the game just about. So I really do like his army, and I think that he is going to do well at this tournament. It should not surprise anybody. If you go running in to fight that army, you're going to get chopped up pretty good. So I think the way that Carl and I played it to try to stay away from it as long as possible was the only choice that we really had. We had nothing that could go toe-to-toe. Anything. You could tell even that we had trouble with one troop of Ancients, and we had trouble with a troop of stupid Gecko Warriors, even trying to kill them with our infantry. So I do think John's army is a great army. And he asked me after the game, what would you do? And I said, I wouldn't change a thing. I would just play it like it is, especially if you're already used to playing it and you're used to what it does and how it works. I believe that I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, could you do some tweaks? Of course you could. You could always. But I like it just the way it is, and I think it's a straightforward, just slobber knock army that moves forward and just comes to fight. There's none of this flitting around and stuff like that. These guys come to kill, and I really like the army, and I think John is going to do well with it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the battle report. I hope you enjoyed the afterthoughts. Carl and I will try to get together again and fight somebody else and keep testing our army. And one of these days, maybe I'll even make it match, but I don't think so. It's just, these are just goblins that I've had for forever. I mean, since the box sets that they came in. And the people have given me some over the years, and I've painted some over the years. But no, I don't think that I'm going to spend a whole lot of time on this army that I really don't have any interest in using in a regular system. And if I did, I would just paint a whole new army. These guys would just be my substitutes for a while I was painting the army. And I might even do Almantic models for a goblin army like this if I was really serious about it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the battle report, and we'll talk to you next week.